This is what a Danish 40,000 a month salary looks like. About 25% of the people live on this amount of money or less. I want to show you the lifestyle of people who make this much of money. I will walk you through the cost of living in Denmark. At the very end of this video, I will provide my recommendations on how much one can save without having to compromise the current standard of living. Alright. So let's say my name is Kumar. I'm single, and after some searching, I found this job as an entry-level engineer in the capital region Copenhagen. Got a job contract, and now what happens? To move to Denmark from a non-European country, I need a work permit under pay limit scheme. The minimum salary I will be paid based on pay limit scheme is around 40,000 Danish kroners per month. So let's assume I work 37 hours a week, and I work every week except 2 that I set aside for holidays, emergencies, sickness and vacation. So how will I spend it? I gotta pay taxes. That brings me down to Danish kroners 26,000 to live on this amount. To calculate this next part of the income, we are looking at some data from Statistics Denmark that shows that people in this income bracket spends around 34% of income on housing. Look at this article published by the Statistics Denmark. Roughly 378 Danish kroners out of 1000 Danish kroners goes to housing. My company can easily find me a single apartment, but I have to bear an enormous amount of money. Could be easily around 12,000 per month. So let's say I have chosen the studio apartment. Now I spend around 35% of my income for housing. I've got about 9,100 Danish kroners for all my housing expenses. A lot of landlords these days require you to earn 3 times more than the monthly rent. So I'm probably going to need roommates if I'm going to get approved for an apartment. Alright. I really can't afford to live in an apartment, so I'm gonna look into the studio accommodation, and I found this place right next to the city. This is gonna work, and it's within my budget for rent and utilities. So how am I going to get to my job, which is in Lyngby? That's 25 minutes away from where I live. Copenhagen has a great public transportation infrastructure. So I choose to buy a travel card and travel using Esto or the bus. And I need a travel card which is Rejsekort. Transportation costs from Norreport station to Lyngby station. The data we will use says about 10% of income is spent on transportation. So that's roughly around 2,600 Danish kroners for commuting to work, plus the travel for exploring other parts of Denmark and sometimes leisure. According to the Statistics Denmark, I spend about 14% of my income on food. That includes both groceries and eating out. That's roughly 3,640 a month for food. A lot of people think that this income bracket just goes to McDonald's all the time. But the reality is, the average order amount of McDonald's is between 80 to 120 kroners. An average order in shawarma house is roughly around 80 kroners. So that will not get me through the month. That will not get me through the 10 days worth of food. So I will have to go to the grocery store. Grocery stores that are available are much likely to carry fresh produce or other nutritious foods. So I'm gonna see what I can buy to do my stocking up on beans, broccolis, peanut butter and jelly, some rye breads, hummus, cheese, chicken, frozen meals. For fresh options, I will also be looking at potatoes and some other cheaper produce. And no eating out, or rarely occasionally on special occasions, eating out is acceptable. If I do, I'll be looking at the value menu at the fast food restaurant. I'll be looking for discounts, checking every price in the convenience store. So we have covered our basic needs of housing, food and transportation, but I still have a lot of expenses. Healthcare is free. That doesn't mean that I will incur no fees. I will have to pay around 3% of my income on health related expenses like purchasing medicine, personal health insurance. I also put aside some money in DKK, the Danish Unemployment Insurance Fund. That's roughly 1,300 kroners a month for insurances. Health insurance is covered by the company. In most cases, the money is automatically deducted. After all these main expenses, I'm left with 20% of amount of money for everything else, and there's a lot more that I need to spend just to live. Laundry, internet connection, cell phone, tickets for the much awaited Marvel movie, attending that live concert in Tivoli, much awaited Smukefest, Roskilde Festival, Copenhagen and many more. Subscriptions for TV2 for some special news and programs, Netflix to binge watch and Spotify to chill. That adds up to roughly 5,200 Danish kroners. not taking into account the overcharges and hidden fees, which adds up to roughly 5,200 Danish kroners. Like, you're starting to see what's happening here. This just adds up. Entertainment, fitness and travel just eats up significant proportion of my salary. It's still feasible for me to do so. I will end up having a remaining balance of Danish kroners 4,160. I can go all in and shop for the favorite branded shoe or the new trouser collection from the Shaping New tomorrow. Anything is possible. I have no emergency savings, no rainy day fund. A sudden unexpected charges could be a major setback. I'm probably going to have to join the locals that rely on debt to get through the month, whether that's credit card debts or short-term loans with high interest rates. Maybe I'll need to take on a second job. Kumar's lifestyle can be perfectly fine as long as he finds it meaningful. There's also a way for him to save up some money for investments. I will provide a recommendation on how much he can save without compromising his current standard of living. So let's go back to what I mentioned earlier. At the very end, I will give my suggestions. No, I'm not going to compromise my lifestyle to save up for investments. I still can do all of what I have said with some slight tweaks. Let's start with the housing. Instead of studio apartments, I will suggest youth housing. This is applicable for singles up to age 35. Spaces cost between 5,000 to up to 7,000 Danish kroners inclusive of all. These are registered under your CPR, so it is one of the best choices rather than individual rental options. I can easily save maximum 10% than I used to before, which will save me 2,600 Danish kroners every month. Blekahus, Monoma youth housing are some of the youth housing options you can look into. Okay, let's focus on transportation. Now, if you have your rooms in Copenhagen, then you probably bike to work as it costs nothing, but the only downside is the weather conditions. There's also a lot of weatherproofing accessories and biking gears. A one-time investment, or rather a healthy investment, and most sustainable on the long run. DBA, Den Blå Avis, has a list of used bikes at an attractive price for all purposes. Using a commuter card, I pay 910 Danish kroners from Nørreport to Lyngby every month. My new bike has allowed me to explore places I want to visit during my leisure time with virtually no commuting cost. Copenhagen is pretty flat and bicycles are the best mode of transport to commute. DSB orange tickets save me a huge amount of money when deciding to travel on a long journey to other parts of Denmark such as Aarhus or Odense. Look for orange tickets using the DSB app. Other options is carpooling. This will save me from getting rid of taxis unless if it is absolutely a necessity. When you sum up all these options, it will save me 1,300 Danish kroners from my monthly expenditure. We have been seeing housing and transportation alternatives. Now let's focus on insurance. DKK, the Unemployment Benefit Fund, consumes roughly 500 Danish kroners every month. Now, DKK is considered essential in case if you lose your job. DKK might not be necessary if you're new to Denmark and unsure about staying longer than 2 years. I chose to pay for DKK because I plan to stay long term and invest in my future here. It's important to think long term and make your decisions based on your plans. This will save me roughly 520 Danish kroners monthly. Like if you're starting to see what's happening here, these small changes to housing, transportation and insurances have saved me 5,720 Danish kroners every single month. To conclude this video, without major changes or compromises to my lifestyle, I was able to save a considerable amount of money. I hope this can inspire you to consider various options available. I hope you found value in the content that I make. Support me on this journey and share this information so expats moving to Denmark can benefit. See you on another video. Goodbye for now.